Libra, my dear soul traveler, something extraordinary is approaching your life and it begins on September 22nd. This is not a casual prediction. This is a divine appointment. The miracle that's coming is not just coincidence, it is a work of God, a sacred design written in the stars for you. You may have felt it already. That subtle shift in the air. That lingering sense that something much bigger is unfolding behind the veil. Libra, what's coming isn't loud or dramatic, it's divine. A realignment. A gentle but powerful touch of heaven on the parts of your life you've long protected in silence. I need to tell you this right now. If you're watching this video, it's because you were meant to. This isn't an accident. This is a soul-level invitation between you, the universe, and the one who wrote your name into the book of light before time began. Libra, you've always been the quiet keeper of balance, the one who carries peace for others, who gives without demand, who stays calm when chaos swirls around you. And because of this quiet strength, God has marked this moment for you. Not to test you again, but to restore what was lost. To reward what was never acknowledged. To bring to light what was hidden too long. So let me ask you, have you been noticing signs lately? Numbers repeating? A song that keeps playing out of nowhere? A moment where a stranger's glance felt eerily familiar? If so, you're not imagining things. These are signals. Sacred nudges. The universe is speaking, and it's saying, you're ready. Now, I want you to pause for a moment. Place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes if you wish. And ask yourself, what part of me has been waiting for permission to hope again? Because Libra, this video isn't just information. It's confirmation. You're not late. You haven't missed anything. You're right on time. And because you've made it here, I want to invite you to ground this energy. Not just passively watch. Let's co-create it. Write in the comments, I accept the miracle prepared for me. Say it aloud, if you can. That declaration is not for mites for you. It's how we say yes to divine timing. That's how we make the invisible, visible. Let me also take a moment to tell you this from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for your presence here. For every like, every comment, every moment you choose to spend with me on Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Your energy is what allows this sacred space to exist. Your support is not just seen, it's felt. Deeply. And I'm honored to walk this path with you. So stay with me until the very end, because what the heavens are revealing today is nothing short of breathtaking. There are parts of your story about to unfold that will make you cry, heal, remember, and rise all in the same breath. Now tell me, Libra. What was it in your soul that pulled you to this video today? Let's begin. You may not have known it, but the date September 22nd has been quietly building significance in your energy field for quite some time. It's not just another turn of the calendar, it's a precise shift written into the cosmic blueprint. In astrology, this moment marks a powerful transition. As the sun departs Virgo and enters Libra, the skies begin to echo with themes of realignment, restoration, and refined balance. But this isn't only about planetary movement, it's about what's moving within you, too. Libra, as the archetype of equilibrium, you are highly attuned to the invisible shifts that most overlook. That's why this date matters so much for you. The sun's entry into your sign activates your solar return energites, like the universe pausing to recalibrate your personal compass. And with the moon in a harmonious aspect to Venus on this day, emotional sensitivity blends gracefully with love, ease, and quiet blessings. It's a gentle invitation to receive, not to chase, not to struggle, but simply to allow what is meant for you to meet you where you are. When I speak of September 22nd as a gateway of justice, I'm not referring to justice in the legal sense. I'm talking about energetic justice, the sacred balancing of what's been unfairly withheld from your life. For so long, many of you have been walking through silent tests. You've carried burdens without recognition, given love without always receiving it in return, and maintained grace where others may have broken. That resilience was not wasted. It was recorded. And this is the season when quiet faith begins to bloom into quiet reward. In the lives of those who seem outwardly composed like Libra, often there are sometimes deep inner narratives filled with restraint, patience, and sacrifice. I once worked with a client, a woman who had spent nearly a decade caring for a partner who never truly saw her. Her dreams had been put on pause. Her voice dimmed. But she remained soft, not bitter. On her birthday, September 22, a letter arrived from a creative program she had applied to years earlier, completely forgotten. She had been accepted. It was more than a yes from the world. It was a confirmation. Life didn't forget her. That's the kind of energy present on this day. It's a moment when the universe seems to tap your shoulder and whisper, "I saw that. And I didn't forget." Sometimes, the signs of this unfolding come as symbols. Repeating numbers like 1111 often emerge during periods of heightened soul awareness. They are not magic tricks, they are markers. Checkpoints. Reminders that you are precisely where you need to be. If you've been seeing them lately, take it not as something to fear or overanalyze, but as a simple truth: you're aligning. It's easy in our busy, modern lives to dismiss moments of synchronicity. But those moments are often where the thread of your story becomes visible again. Not in the noise, but in the stillness. You don't need to force a miracle, you only need to be willing to receive it. And in order to receive, sometimes the first step is to pause, breathe, and notice what's already trying to reach you. If any of this resonates, if you've been feeling like life is trying to send you a message, I encourage you to acknowledge it. Honor it. Write it in the comments, share if you've seen 1111 recently. Not because it's trendy, but because you're anchoring that awareness into your timeline. You're telling life, I'm paying attention. This isn't about magical thinking. It's about empowered receiving. It's about knowing that grace is not a gift for the few, it's available for the ones who stay open. So if your life has felt quiet lately, know this: not all growth is loud. Some of the most divine changes happen in silence. And this might just be your moment. There's something quietly powerful about the Libra spirit, a type of strength that rarely seeks the spotlight but moves entire emotional landscapes from behind the scenes. If you're a Libra, or someone deeply aligned with Libra energy, you already know this. You're not loud when you love. You don't demand recognition when you give. You carry a kind of grace that doesn't shout but steadies, like the invisible strings that hold the center of a spinning world together. That's why, so often, you feel like the one holding the balance for everyone around you. The silent stabilizer. The emotional architect. The calm in someone else's storm. And yet, How many times have you paused and wondered, but who's holding that balance for me? Libra's archetype is often symbolized by the scales, and while people love to associate it with harmony and elegance, the deeper truth is more complex. Those scales aren't decorative, they represent a lifelong practice of calibrating, adjusting, giving more when needed, stepping back when necessary. And yes, sometimes sacrificing your own needs just to keep the energy in a room from collapsing. You don't always say how heavy that role becomes. You don't always let people see the effort behind the elegance. But it's there. And the universe sees it, too. That's why your miracle may not arrive with noise. It won't come crashing in like a thunderbolt. It may arrive the way you yourself often arrive in people's lives, gently, precisely, and just in time. You see, not all miracles are loud. Some are structured to mirror the receiver. Your blessings have learned to walk with the same quiet dignity you do. That's why it might come in the form of a subtle opportunity, a calm solution, or an unexpected moment of peace that shifts everything. You've likely experienced long stretches where it seemed like life kept asking for more without giving much back. And you gave. Not out of weakness but out of wisdom. Out of faith. Out of love. But let's be honest, there were probably moments you doubted whether any of it would return. You questioned whether being kind was still worth it, or whether the world truly noticed the weight you carried. If you've ever been there, I want you to know something is about to be restored to you. Not because you begged for it, but because it's time. There is a natural law that governs energetic reciprocity. You may not always see it in action, but it is always in effect. Even in faith-based teachings, we are reminded that the unseen work, the quiet acts of love, the patience practiced when no one else is watching, the times you refuse to become hardened are not forgotten. Miracles, as they're often described, are not grand performances for the public eye. They are moments when the impossible meets the prepared. When timing converges with character. And Libra, you've been preparing, even in your weariness. So if it feels like something is shifting now, trust that it is. If your heart has felt quieter than usual lately, not sad, but still, it's often because the soul is making space. Creating room for what it knows is coming. This kind of internal rearranging isn't loud either, but it's no less real. It's your spirit preparing to receive, to breathe deeper, to rest in balance that doesn't rely on effort. If you've ever thought to yourself, I give so much, when will it be my turn? This may very well be your moment of return. Not in the exact form you expected, but in the exact weight your soul needs to feel whole again. You are not just the keeper of balance for others. You are also worthy of the balance being restored within you. And it's coming, in the only way you would fully accept it: gracefully, quietly, and completely. Sometimes, it starts with something so small you almost dismiss it: a number that keeps showing up every time you glance at the clock, a song playing at the exact moment you're deep in thought, or the feeling that someone looked at you in a way that made your heart remember something it had forgotten. These aren't coincidences. They're clues. Soft signals. Gentle nudges from the energetic field you're connected to, reminding you that your reality is shifting and that you're not alone in it. When your vibration begins to rise, often through healing, reflection, or quiet surrender, the world around you doesn't just remain the same. It responds. That's the thing most people don't realize. Energy is never passive. It listens. It reflects. It adjusts. And when your heart starts sending out new frequencies, hope after disappointment, openness after fear, trust after silence, life hears that. It doesn't always speak back in words. It replies in patterns, in symbols, in unexpected alignments. You may see repeating numbers like 1111, 444, or 222. These sequences, often called angel numbers, are simply mirrors of your consciousness catching up with your destiny. They are not meant to be decoded with logic, but felt with your intuition. They appear when the veil between your inner state and the outer world becomes thin, when you're close to stepping into something aligned with your soul's timing. Other times, the messages arrive through sound. A familiar melody that finds you in the middle of your day, saying everything you couldn't say aloud. Lyrics that echo your thoughts. Rhythms that soothe your nervous system even if your mind is still catching up. It's no accident when music shows up like this. Music has always been one of the languages the universe speaks fluently, especially to those who feel deeply but speak little. Then there are the eyes. You know the look I'm talking about. The glance from a stranger that holds a sense of knowing, a flicker of recognition, like the universe using someone else's gaze to say, "Keep going, I see you." It doesn't always last more than a second. But it leaves something in you, an anchoring. A breath of belief. A warmth that you can't explain. That's not just another moment. That's a divine reminder wearing human clothes. And dreams, of course, are where the subconscious and the sacred tend to meet halfway. You may dream of old faces, distant places, or conversations that feel too real to ignore. Sometimes the dream leaves you puzzled. Sometimes you wake up in tears, not from pain, but from the clarity you were given while sleeping. These aren't random. When we're most still, we're most reachable. That's why the messages often come at night, because silence makes space for truth to whisper. You don't need to interpret every symbol, but you do need to acknowledge them. Write them down. Speak them out loud. Share them with someone you trust, or share them in the comments here, because chances are, you're not the only one seeing what you're seeing. When one person confirms a pattern, others begin to remember their own. That's how spiritual awareness spreads, not through proof, but through resonance. And if you're wondering whether you're imagining all of this, the answer is no. You're sensing it because you're aligning. According to the law of attraction, what you hold in your heart becomes what life reflects back to you. You emit a frequency with every belief, every intention, every longing you hold silently. And life, whether through numbers, glances, dreams, or songs, will always reflect that frequency back. So the next time you see the number, hear the song, or feel that quiet tap on your shoulder from something you can't name, pause. Smile. And say, "I see it. I'm listening." Because once you start responding, everything around you starts responding too. It often begins where you least expect it, where the silence was longest, where the ache lasted just a little too long, where your heart whispered questions no one else could hear. And strangely, that is often the very ground where the first signs of breakthrough quietly take root. It's not by accident. The universe is intentional with its healing. It brings new growth to the spaces that once felt abandoned, not to erase the past, but to honor it. What once held sorrow begins to soften, and in time, the same space becomes fertile for something new, something whole. Many people think miracles only arrive in the form of sudden joy, answered prayers, or obvious success. But more often than not, true miracles enter through the same door that pain once walked through. Not to repeat the pain but to redeem it. I once knew a woman who had lost everything: her job, her sense of direction, her closest friend. It all fell apart within months, and for a long while, she believed nothing good could come from what she called her empty season. But one afternoon, as she was helping someone else revise a resume at the local library just to be kind, she was overheard by a stranger who would later offer her a job. Not just any job, but one that restored not only her income, but her confidence. She didn't find healing in a grand event. She found it in the very place she had given up. And that made all the difference. When we talk about healing, especially for those of you born under the sign of Libra, we must consider the unique emotional balance you carry. Libra, you often hold the pain of others while trying to maintain peace within yourself. You don't run from discomfort, you absorb it, process it, and try to alchemize it into something beautiful. That's a rare and powerful gift. But it also means that your wounds are often tucked away, hidden beneath a quiet grace. You've likely given in moments where you were empty. Stayed calm when you had every right to break. Showed up for others when no one showed up for you. So if you've been wondering where your miracle might be hiding, consider this. What part of you has been silently waiting for restoration? What have you sacrificed lately that felt unnoticed? That place, the one you thought had been forgotten, is where the light is starting to gather. The same energy that met you in the hard moments will rise again in that space, not to remind you of the pain, but to remind you of who you've become because of it. You don't need to chase what's meant for you. Miracles aren't rewards for perfection. They are returns of balance. Grace often shows up just after we've stopped trying to earn it. That's when we begin to realize that the story wasn't about the loss, it was about the becoming. The breaking wasn't the end, it was the beginning. When I say that your miracle will come where you once hurt most, it's not meant to romanticize suffering. It's meant to give you hope that nothing has been wasted. Every tear you've cried, every unanswered question, every night you spent replaying a moment in your mind, none of it was in vain. These were seeds, planted in the dark, quietly preparing to bloom. So, if you're standing in a place in your life that feels fragile, uncertain, or empty, I invite you to hold still for just a moment. Breathe. Look around. And know, this might just be the soil where everything begins again. The cracks you feel? That's not you falling apart. That's light finally finding a way in. And something beautiful always follows. Always. When life begins to restore what once felt missing, it often moves through the most essential areas of your existence: love, finances, and health. These are not separate pillars. They are deeply intertwined, each one affecting the rhythm of your everyday life, your peace of mind, and your sense of direction. And for you, Libra, the return of balance in these areas is not just a promise, it's a sacred recalibration already unfolding. In the realm of love, your story has likely not been simple. There may have been times you loved without needing recognition, or let someone go not because you stopped caring, but because you honored their freedom more than your own desire. That's a rare and deeply evolved kind of love. But what happens to the heart that always sacrifices? It waits. It aches silently. It learns to find wholeness without attachment. And yet, something is shifting now. There is a return of emotional security on the horizon, not necessarily through the same person, but through a deeper kind of connection that finally reflects your emotional maturity. Someone may return with a new softness in their tone, or someone entirely new may enter with a calm presence that allows you to exhale. It's not passion for the sake of intensity, it's peace, and that, Libra, is the kind of love you've been craving all along. As this emotional healing occurs, don't be surprised if abundance begins to follow closely behind. Financial energy often mirrors emotional energy. When you begin to feel safe emotionally, your energy opens and opportunities can finally land. Perhaps it's a job offer you didn't expect, or the resolution of a financial matter that's lingered too long. Maybe even a sum of money owed to you finds its way back, seemingly out of nowhere. These are not random. They are energetic returns. However, with this new wave of abundance comes a responsibility to steward it wisely. Now is not the time to rush into impulsive decisions or extravagant changes. Instead, take a breath, reassess your budget, and make decisions from a grounded place. Think of this financial gift not as a quick reward, but as a seed, something to nurture slowly, with care, so it can grow into long-term stability. Miracles arrive with momentum, but they remain through mindfulness. And then there is your body, your vessel, your home. Libra rules the kidneys and the lower back, and these areas often carry the weight of imbalance when your inner world is under pressure. Have you been feeling physical strain, tightness, or fatigue? These are not just physical reactions, they are emotional echoes. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. And so, now is the time to return to the basics. Drink water with intention, not just for hydration, but as an act of inner cleansing. Herbal teas can help calm your nervous system. Lavender, chamomile, or lemon balm can do wonders. Begin your morning with just 10 minutes of stillness, a moment of quiet breathing before the day begins. Let your system rewire itself gently. Add more greens to your plate, reduce sugar intake where you can, and consider supplementing with omega-3 to nourish your emotional well-being from within. You don't need to change everything overnight. Small adjustments made from a place of self-respect are far more powerful than radical overhauls done out of fear. Balance is not about perfection, it's about presence. When you begin treating your body, your finances, and your heart as sacred, they start responding in kind. And perhaps that is the miracle itself, not a flash of dramatic change, but the slow, steady return of alignment. You are not behind, Libra. You are on time. And now, finally, so are your blessings. Libra, if you've made it this far with me, let me gently remind you, that already means something. Not everyone stays through the silence, through the pause between words, through the stillness where truth rises. But you did. And maybe, just maybe, that's the first sign that you're ready. Ready to stop carrying the weight of both sides of the scale. Ready to trust that you're not alone in holding it anymore. Ready to receive, without guilt, without resistance, and without needing to explain why now. Because the truth is, balance is not about holding everything perfectly. It's about knowing when to adjust, when to rest, and yes, when to let go. You've tried so hard for so long to hold the peace, to be the harmony, to be the answer. But sometimes, Libra, the greatest act of strength is not doing it all yourself. It's opening your hands and allowing divine timing to do what only it can. And that's exactly what September 22nd is about. This moment isn't random. This message didn't find you by mistake. You didn't click on this video because you're bored, you arrived because something deep in your spirit whispered, listen. Maybe you've been hearing signs. Maybe the numbers have shown up again. Maybe the music, the dreams, the synchronicities are starting to form a pattern you can no longer ignore. Or maybe this is your first time hearing someone say that you, just as you are worthy of miracles. So I want you to breathe with me now. Just one breath. Deep and real. Inhale what you've just remembered. Exhale what you no longer need to carry. And as you do, ask yourself, what if I actually believed that my life could change starting tomorrow? What if I stopped resisting good things? What if I allowed the help that's been trying to reach me? Would you open the door? Would you say yes? Because sometimes the miracle doesn't need a trumpet or a spotlight. It just needs your permission. Now, I'd love for you to write one simple thing in the comments, not just for me, but for yourself, for your future self to return to and remember this moment of alignment. Type it now. I open my heart to receive the work of God meant for me on September 22nd. Let that be your affirmation. Let that be your invitation. And if this message has stirred something in you, if you felt even a thread of truth woven into what I've shared, please consider subscribing to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Hit the bell so you never miss the next divine message that may be waiting for you in the days ahead. Every like, every comment, every moment you spend here helps us continue this sacred space of healing and awakening. But before I let you go, I want to leave you with this, something I say not as a guide, but as someone walking this path right beside you. I am not here to change your life. That's not my power. But I was chosen today to remind you of something you may have forgotten. You were born for beauty. For harmony. For peace. And tomorrow, something sacred begins. So now I ask you, are you willing to meet it halfway? If the answer is yes, then I'll see you, not just here again, but in that new chapter, in that next breath, where balance becomes your birthright again. And until then, may you walk gently, may you trust deeply, and may you rest in knowing you are never alone.